Hi, it's Mike with AskATractorMike.com. Got a viewer letter today about buying a previous year's tractor. And I've been a rep for a farm equipment company. I managed a dealership. I know a little bit about what's going on in the background about previous year's inventories and price increases and all that. And we're going to cover that today, both on tractors and implements. Let's get to the letter. Letter comes from Andrew, and Andrew says, I'm enjoying your videos, looking for one about purchasing last year's model. Have you done one on that? If not, please do so. Specifically, I'm looking in 2023, and the dealer has a 2022 model, no hours. What are some things to be aware of? A great question, Andrew, and we're going to cover that today. Price increases are something that happens pretty much annually in the farm equipment business, and they will generally follow the path of inflation. You'll usually see the 2023 model be 3 to 5% more than the 2022 model, and if inflation is more, it'll be more. It could be 5 to 7% more. And when the new engines and the EPA requirements came, when we went from Tier 3 to Tier 4, we saw about a 10% increase because you had the price of inflation and plus the increased technology that had to go into that engine to meet the Tier 4 requirements, and that resulted in a higher price increase. So every year the prices are going up. Now I'm going to tell you some inside information here. If I'm a company and there's no inflation, I'm still going to raise prices every year. And if I'm a salesperson, I welcome a price increase. That's counterintuitive to what you normally think, but here's why. If there's not a price increase every year, if the price stays the same, most customers are going to want the newest one, the one that just rolled off the truck. And so the older ones, there's no incentive to move those. And so without an incentive to move the older inventory, they sit around and get faded and get weathered, and pretty soon a dealer has to discount them to get rid of them, and then he loses money or doesn't make as much money. So as a company, a price increase means I clean out the old inventory. So we want a price increase every year. And if you're in sales, knowing a price increase is coming, you can go to your dealers and say, hey, if you want to lock in last year's price, we need a lot of orders, because the stuff coming in is going to be identical, but it's going to be a higher priced. And if you'll order from me now, you'll get it locked in at the old price. And I can tell you from experience, if you go on a dealer's lot and they've got a whole bunch of inventory, there's something psychological that says, ooh, this dealer is successful, they believe in this product, and I can buy with confidence from them this product. So price increases are good to get inventory moving and to get inventory on the dealer's lots. Okay, let's get back to our viewer's question. If you're looking at a tractor that is identical to last year's model, there can be advantages to buying the older model. Same thing with implements. I remember a few years ago, and I'm going to pick on bush hog a little bit, but it was everybody in the industry pretty much. Steel prices were going up sharply, and fuel prices were going up sharply. And this was, gosh, I don't know, it had to have been before 2014. I'm going to say maybe 2009, 2010. But the pricing of the equipment was going up, the cost to the manufacturer was going up sharply, and fuel prices were going up sharply. Usually things stay, about level, and that year, whichever year it was, and I can't remember exactly, things were going up sharply, and the manufacturers couldn't keep in front of it. So we would have that time a bush hog cutter that came in like early in that year, and it had one price. And then as steel went up, we had steel surcharges. You'd have another one that would come in at a higher price, and then you'd have a third one come in with fuel surcharges on it at a still higher price. So you have 3 identical units on your lot, all with different costs to the dealer. And trying to explain that to customers was really tough because, all 3 the same thing, all 3 invoiced within like a 5-month period, and 3 different costs to the dealer. So that stuff happens. Well, you want to buy, because they're all 3 identical, the oldest one, right? And is there any disadvantage to that? Well, on an implement, absolutely not. If you can get last year's model, get it. The only disadvantage that I can think of on a tractor is it's been sitting out in the weather, probably like in this case over the winter. I would ask the dealer what their policy is on winterizing their tractors that sit out, because the fuel can get moisture in it And most of the time they'll put a stabilizer in to keep that from happening. But that's the only thing I see as a disadvantage to buying last year's model. And if the dealer can tell you, and I would ask them, you know, how do you winterize your tractors? An acceptable way of doing that, the fuel's probably fine. If you put additional, you know, fill it up with fuel, or maybe make the dealer do that, make that part of the negotiation, get them to fill it up with fuel and then stabilize it. Your biggest danger is that first tank of fuel that you run through it, and then after that, of course, you'll be fine. But that's the only disadvantage. And generally, you know, tractors don't change. Manufacturer will come out with a new model. It'll be on the market for maybe 7, 8, 9 years till somebody else makes a change or an improvement, and then they have to change that model to compete, or they'll come out with something new. But on small tractors, like guys like me and most of my audience buy, they don't change very much. There's not a lot of new technology. They may have, you know, 1 or 2 different options or different tires or whatever, new tires come out. But otherwise, you know, the 2022 is probably an absolutely identical tractor to the 2023. Now, the big question comes when you go to trade it in. And I can tell you from experience being a dealer, the trade-in value is not related to years. Yeah, it's something we'd probably look at, but if you bought a tractor, let's say in 2009, and another customer bought the exact same model tractor in 2015, and you've taken perfect care of yours, kept it greased, kept it shedded, maybe washed it and waxed it once in a while, and the other customer has never done one lick of maintenance on it, your older tractor is actually worth more than the newer tractor. They generally don't follow the automotive business where every year the value goes up if you're trading in a used car. So condition, in my mind, and I think most dealers would agree with me, means way more than what year it is. And in fact, there's some manufacturers, and Kubota's one of them, that doesn't publish a break on the year. So if you're wanting to know what year your Kubota is, you can get the serial number, and there's no guide that tells you what year it is. If you call them, they'll tell you, but I think most dealers probably don't even care. If there's been no changes in the actual product, and generally there aren't, the one that's older, that's been taken better care of, will have better resale value than the newer one that has been neglected. So Andrew, to answer your question, as long as that thing was winterized okay and the fuel's not bad in it, get the 2022 and save a little bit of money. Now I want to put a quick plug in. I wrote a book a few years ago, An Insider's Guide to Purchasing a Tractor, and it's on my website, and I'll put a link up here at the end where you can get it. It's an ebook only. I don't have a hardback, so you got to have a Kindle or whatever to read it. But it'll give you some insight into how to purchase a tractor and get the right thing the first time if you're a novice tractor buyer, your first time tractor buyer. And again, it's on my website. Thanks for watching.